The sun burned red over the alien bazaar. Dust and smoke danced in the air as metal chains clinked and auctioneers shouted prices in a dozen strange tongues. The place smelled of rust, fear, and hunger. Humans rarely came here, but today one did. Commander Evan Cross, a human from the outer colonies, walked slowly through the market. His boots sank into the red sand. His helmet visor scanned the area, heat signatures, oxygen levels, slave tags. Everywhere he looked, he saw misery. Alien children huddled under torn cloth. Old ones with silver skin sat in cages, eyes dim. No laughter, no life, only despair. Evan had come to buy supplies, food, water, repair metal for his ship. But deep down he hated this place. It reminded him too much of Earth's dark history, when humans once sold their own kind. As he passed a cage filled with weak alien women, someone tugged his coat. He looked down. A small alien girl, no older than 7, stood there barefoot. Her skin was soft violet, her eyes glowing faint blue, thin arms, trembling legs. Her voice broke when she spoke. "Human, please," she whispered, "buy my mom. She'll feed me, I promise." Evan froze. He had heard many cries in his life, battle screams, distress calls, dying soldiers. But never something like this. Never a child trying to sell her own mother. To survive. Behind the girl, her mother sat silently, chained by the neck. She looked weak, her face pale, her clothes torn, yet her eyes still had dignity, calm and deep, like someone who had already accepted her fate. The auctioneer noticed Evan's hesitation and laughed. "You like the little one, human? Cheap deal. Her mother's useless, sick, can't work. But the child? Pretty one, good for house chores or..." He smirked cruelly. Evan's jaw tightened. He felt anger rise in his chest. He kneeled before the girl. "What's your name?" She blinked, surprised that someone asked. "Nira," she said softly. He looked at the woman. "And her?" "She's my mom. Please, don't let them take her away again. She still tries to smile for me. I can work, I can clean your ship, I can..." Her voice cracked. She dropped to her knees and started crying. "Just buy her, please." The crowd stared. Even the guards paused. No one had ever begged like that. Evan felt something shift inside him, the soldier, the officer, the human. He turned to the auctioneer. "How much for both?" The alien laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Both? The mother's half dead. You want a package deal?" Evan said nothing. He pulled out a small bag of credits, enough to buy food for a month. He tossed it on the table. The coins clattered loud in the silent air. "Done," he said. The auctioneer's smile vanished. "Wait, you're serious?" Evan's cold eyes met his. "Release them now." For a moment, no one moved. Then slowly the alien unhooked the chains. The sound of the locks opening echoed across the market. The mother stood, trembling. Her hands shook as she tried to walk. Nira ran to her, hugging her legs, crying softly. Evan removed his cloak and wrapped it around both of them. "You're safe now," he said quietly. But as they turned to leave, the auctioneer shouted, "You'll regret this, human." "That woman, she's marked." Evan stopped. "Marked?" The alien smirked. "Check her wrist." He looked down. On the mother's wrist was a faint symbol glowing beneath her skin. A strange blue crest shaped like a star with wings. Before he could ask, the woman whispered, "Please." "Don't ask."
"Just take us away." Evan nodded.
"Let's go." They walked through the dusty crowd toward his ship. People watched them, a human walking beside 2 freed aliens. It was an image no one had seen before. When they reached the landing site, Nira looked up at the huge silver ship. Her eyes widened. "You live in a sky house?" Evan smiled faintly. "Something like that." He lifted her into the ramp. "You'll be safe here." Inside, the ship's lights flickered as the engines hummed. Liara, the mother, sat quietly in the corner. Her hands trembled as she held her daughter. Evan brought them water and wrapped a blanket around them. "Drink. Rest. I'll take you to a safe zone." Liara looked at him, her voice low but steady. "You shouldn't have helped us. They'll come for you now." "I've fought worse," he said. "Let them come." She smiled weakly, a tired, grateful smile. "You don't even know who we are." Evan shrugged. "Doesn't matter. You needed help." "That's enough," Nira whispered, already half asleep. "I told you, Mom. Humans are kind." The engines roared, lifting them into the dark red sky. The market below faded into dust, but Evan didn't notice the faint pulse coming from Liara's wrist. The mark glowed brighter now, sending a signal into the stars. Far away in the cold blackness of space, a red light blinked on a warship's console. Tracking signal detected. Target Liara. Classified fugitive. Status located. Evan didn't know it yet. But his act of mercy had just started a war, one that would change the fate of worlds. The stars stretched endlessly outside the window as the human ship, Aurora 7, drifted through the night of space. Inside, the silence was heavy, broken only by the hum of engines and the soft breathing of two alien souls who had never known safety before. Commander Evan Cross sat in the cockpit, staring at the endless black. His thoughts wouldn't rest. He replayed the little girl's words again and again. By my mom. She'll feed me, I promise. He had saved them, yes. But from what? And who would come after them now? Behind him, in the small medical bay, the woman, Liara, lay resting. Her daughter, Nira, slept beside her, tiny fingers gripping her mother's hand even in her dreams. Evan walked quietly inside and placed a soft light near them. Liara's skin had a strange silver tone that shimmered under the glow. But something else caught his attention. The mark on her wrist, it pulsed faintly blue. Not like a tattoo, not like a wound. It was alive. He knelt closer, scanning it with his wrist device. The screen blinked red. Alert, forbidden biometric signature detected. Class Genesis level. His brow furrowed. Genesis? He'd only heard whispers of that classification back in the fleet. Projects so secret they were erased from records. Before he could analyze further, Liara stirred. Her voice, soft and cracked, broke the silence. Please, don't scan that again. Evan looked at her. What is it? Her eyes glimmered faintly blue, same as the mark. A curse, she said quietly. Or maybe, a memory that refuses to die. He sat on the floor beside her bed. You're running from someone. Yes, who? Liara looked away. Everyone. The way she said it made his skin crawl. He didn't press further. Nira woke up then, yawning softly. When she saw Evan, she smiled. You didn't leave us, he smiled back. Told you I wouldn't. He handed her a ration bar. Eat slowly. It's strong food. She took a small bite and coughed, then laughed. Humans make bitter food, he chuckled. That's because we survive on things that taste bad. For a few minutes, the ship felt almost peaceful. Liara even allowed herself a small smile watching her daughter laugh. But peace never lasts long. The ship's console beeped. Incoming transmission encrypted. Unknown source. Evan quickly switched the system to silent mode.
He checked the radar.
A faint blip appeared behind them, too steady to be a meteor. He cursed under his breath. We're being followed. Liara sat up, her face pale. How far? 30,000 kilometers and closing. He paused. Your mark, it's sending a signal, isn't it? Her eyes filled with guilt. They track all of us who carry it. It's not just ink, it's alive. It binds to our blood, our thoughts. It was made to control scientists who worked on the Genesis Light Project. Evan's heart thumped. You were one of them? She nodded slowly. Once, long ago, before they turned our creation into a weapon. The room fell silent. Nira looked at her mother, confused. Mom, what's a weapon? Liara hugged her tightly. Something bad, my love. Something I tried to destroy. The radar beeped again. The enemy ship was closer now, 2 jumps away. Evan rushed to the controls. Hold on tight. He pushed the throttle forward. The engines roared and stars blurred outside the window, but the pursuers were fast. Missiles streaked past, grazing the hull. Nira screamed. Liara shielded her with her body. Why are they shooting at us? Evan's voice was calm but fierce. Because they're afraid of what you know. He maneuvered between asteroid fragments, sharp rocks gliding past like knives. The ship trembled. Alarms screamed. A plasma bolt hit the left wing, sparks flew. Liara closed her eyes, whispering something in her alien tongue. The mark on her wrist glowed bright blue, and suddenly a wave of light pulsed outward. The nearest asteroid shifted its path, slamming into the enemy ship. Evan's eyes widened. What was that? Liara gasped, holding her wrist in pain. The Genesis energy. It still answers me, but each time I use it, it burns me. Evan guided the Aurora 7 into a hidden nebula cloud, turning off the engines. The stars outside faded into glowing mist. We'll hide here till they pass. The silence returned. Only the faint hiss of oxygen filled the room. Nira climbed into her mother's lap. Mom, will the bad ones find us again? Liara hesitated. Yes, unless I find a way to erase this mark. Evan leaned against the wall, exhausted. You can't do it alone. I've seen too many people die trying to fight systems bigger than them. Liara looked at him. Then why did you help us? He shrugged. Because you needed help. That's what humans do. Her lips trembled slightly. Humans are strange. Evan smiled faintly. We get that a lot. Then something unexpected happened. Nira walked up to him, small and shy, holding her hand out. Thank you, human, she said, for buying my mom and not selling us again. He knelt, touched by the innocence in her voice. You don't need to thank me, kid. Just promise you'll eat and stay safe. Liara watched the two of them quietly. For the first time in years, she felt warmth instead of fear, but outside, deep in the mist, red lights blinked faintly. The hunters hadn't given up. They were triangulating the signal, getting closer with every second. Liara turned to Evan. If they find us again, you must leave me behind. Save my daughter. Evan's voice hardened. No, not happening. You don't understand. I understand enough. Nobody gets left behind. Not on my ship. She looked at him for a long moment, seeing the same fire she once had. The courage to stand against an empire. And in that quiet moment, Liara whispered, almost to herself, maybe. This is why the stars still remember humans. The Aurora 7 drifted deeper into the nebula, engines silent, 3 lives tied together by fate, a soldier, a fugitive, and a child whose small voice had awakened the heart of humanity itself. The nebula around Aurora 7 glowed like a silent ocean of blue fire. Gas clouds twisted and shimmered, hiding them in the mist. For hours nothing moved. Only the soft hum of the ship filled the air. Commander Evan Cross kept his eyes fixed on the radar. The blinking dots of enemy ships had vanished, or so it seemed. Behind him, Liara sat beside her daughter Nira, wrapping a thin blanket around the little one. The glow of her wrist mark had faded, but the skin was still red and burned. You should rest, Evan said quietly without turning. Liara shook her head. Rest means dreaming. Dreaming means remembering. He glanced back, seeing the pain behind her calm expression. What's in those dreams? The day everything ended, she whispered. When the council turned our project into death. Evan looked away. He'd seen entire colonies burn. He didn't need details to understand, but peace never lasts. A sharp alarm shattered the silence. The radar flashed red, 5 enemy signals closing in fast. Evan cursed and powered up the ship. They found us again. Liara jumped to her feet. How? I blocked the signal. Maybe someone's reactivating it remotely, he said, scanning the systems. They've got better tech. The ship shuddered as a plasma bolt exploded nearby. Nira screamed and clung to her mother. Evan gritted his teeth. Hold on tight. He pulled the throttle. The engines roared. The Aurora 7 burst out of the nebula like a silver comet, speeding into open space. Behind them, black warships followed, firing energy bursts that painted the darkness red. The chase had begun. Rocks drifted ahead, a dense asteroid field. Evan guided the ship inside, weaving between spinning boulders. Each collision could destroy them instantly, but turning back wasn't an option. Liara gripped the seat beside him. You're insane. Maybe, Evan said, voice steady, but it's the only way to lose them. One of the pursuing ships tried to follow, too close. It struck an asteroid and exploded, flames scattering like sparks in the void. Nira gasped. They're gone? Not all, Evan replied. 4 more. He looked at his systems. The shields were dropping. The left engine was overheating. He needed a place to land, to hide. Then Liara pointed ahead. There, that planet, the red one. Evan checked the scanner. Uncharted, no atmosphere data, violent storms. Perfect. He steered the ship down toward the surface. The moment they entered the atmosphere, lightning flashed across the clouds. A storm unlike anything he had seen before. The wind screamed against the hull. Red dust clouds swirled like fire. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Evan fought the controls. Hold on, we're going down fast, Nira cried, clutching her mother. Liara covered her with her own body as the ship broke through the storm and slammed into the ground with a deafening crash. Silence. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the emergency lights flickered on. painting everything in blood-red glow. Evan coughed and unbuckled his seat. "Everyone okay?" Nira whimpered but nodded. Liara's head was bleeding, but she forced a smile. Still alive, he helped them out of their seats. The ship had crashed between cliffs of black stone. The storm outside roared like a living beast. Evan opened the hatch. The air outside was heavy but breathable. Lightning flashed again, revealing something strange in the distance. Massive stone towers half buried in sand. Ruins. "Stay here," he said. "I'll check it out." Liara grabbed his arm. "No, I'm coming." He looked at her, saw the fire in her eyes, and nodded. "Fine, keep close." They stepped into the storm. The wind cut like knives, sand whipping their faces. But the ruins ahead called to them. Ancient, silent, waiting. Inside the largest tower, they found carvings glowing faint blue, like the mark on Liara's wrist. Evan brushed the dust away. "These are human symbols," he whispered. Liara stared. "Impossible. Humans didn't exist when these were built." The wall depicted tall figures, humans, standing beside aliens, hands raised toward the sky. Beneath it an inscription, "When the stars forget mercy, humanity shall remind them." Evan's heart pounded. This place, it's saying humans were destined to protect others. Liara traced the words with trembling fingers. "Maybe it's not destiny," she said softly. "Maybe your kind simply remembers compassion better than most." Behind them, Nira's small voice echoed. "Mom, look," she pointed to the center of the chamber. A giant crystal sat there, glowing faintly. Liara approached carefully. This is ancient Genesis energy. Pure and uncorrupted." Evan frowned. "You mean the same energy they're hunting you for?" "Yes," she whispered. "But this is the original source, maybe. It can remove the mark." Before she could touch it, her wrist started glowing again, violently. The symbol burned bright blue, and suddenly, a projection filled the room. Dozens of alien faces appeared. Soldiers, bounty hunters, and one cold, silver-eyed leader. "Liara of Vela," the voice boomed. "You cannot hide. You carry forbidden light. Surrender and your child will be spared." Evan stepped in front of her. "Over my dead body," the hologram paused, analyzing him. "A human, always interfering." Then it vanished. Liara trembled, her hand shaking. "They'll be here soon." Evan's voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "Then we fight." He began setting up his pulse rifles and activating defense drones. "We'll hold them off till the storm clears." Liara looked at him, truly looked, and saw something she hadn't seen in years. A man ready to die for someone he didn't even know. As thunder roared above, Nira slipped her tiny hand into his. "You'll save us again, right?" Evan smiled faintly. "That's the plan, kid." Outside, flashes of light broke through the red clouds. The enemy had arrived. The storm screamed louder, as if the planet itself was preparing for war. And deep within the ruins, the crystal began to pulse, bright and alive, reacting to the presence of the human who had chosen compassion over orders. The prophecy had awakened. The storm raged outside the ancient ruins like an angry god, but inside the air was still. Dust floated through the faint blue glow of the ancient crystal. The carvings on the walls shimmered, reflecting stories too old for memory. Commander Evan Cross stood near the entrance, rifle ready, scanning the cliffs through his visor. Lightning flashed again, revealing the enemy ships landing beyond the ridge. They were coming. Behind him, Liara sat near the glowing crystal, her daughter Nira asleep in her lap. For the first time in days, Liara's eyes weren't just tired, they were haunted. She traced the mark on her wrist with trembling fingers, feeling it pulse like a heartbeat. Evan turned toward her. "We can't stay long. The storm will hide us for maybe an hour, but they'll find the heat signature soon." Liara looked up slowly. "Do you ever wonder, human, why we make monsters out of miracles?" He frowned. "What do you mean?" She placed Nira gently on the floor and stood, her long silver hair catching the faint light. "You should know the truth before we die, Evan Cross. You should know what I was part of." He lowered his weapon, sensing the weight in her voice. Liara walked closer to the ancient wall, where the symbols of humans and aliens stood together. Her hand glowed as she touched one of the carvings, and suddenly the walls around them flickered to life, blue holograms spiraling upward, showing stars, planets, and strange machines. "This," she said softly, was the dream of Genesis Light. We wanted to bring life to dead worlds, planets that had lost their suns, colonies where crops couldn't grow, places that had become graves. She pointed to the swirling hologram of a green world blooming in seconds. We built a system that could reseed planets with air, water, and light, self-sustaining ecosystems in a day. Evan's eyes widened. You could make entire worlds live again?
Yes, she said, her tone bitter.
Until the Council took it. They saw a weapon instead of hope. They realized if Genesis Light could create life, it could also erase it. The hologram shifted, lush forests turning to ash, oceans boiling away. They made us design a version that could burn worlds clean. They called it Genesis Fire, a tool to destroy rebellious colonies. I refused, so they marked me as a traitor and hunted me across the stars. Her voice cracked. I ran with Nira the night they came. Her father died buying us a few minutes to escape. He believed someone out there would understand mercy. Evan clenched his fists. And the mark on your wrist? It's a failsafe. Every scientist had one. It monitors us, tracks us, controls us. If I try to use my power again, it sends a signal. They'll know. They'll always know. Evan's chest tightened. He had seen cruelty before, but not like this. You didn't just run from them, he said quietly. You ran from your own creation. Liara nodded. And I failed. Because no matter how far I go, Genesis still follows me. For a moment, neither spoke. Only the distant thunder filled the silence. Then a soft voice broke the heavy air. Mom, are you crying? Nira had woken, her eyes sleepy and confused. She reached out and touched her mother's face, wiping the tears with her small glowing fingers. It's okay. The human will protect us. Liara's heart broke and healed all at once. He already has, she whispered. Evan looked away, embarrassed. Kid, I don't know how long I can protect anyone. Once those ships get through the storm, the ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The storm outside howled louder as enemy ships broke through the clouds. The ruins trembled. Liara's mark began to glow again, reacting to the nearby Genesis energy. The crystal in the center of the chamber pulsed brighter, faster, as if answering her heartbeat. Evan's scanner beeped. That thing's charging up. Liara's eyes widened. It's responding to me. The original core must still be alive. It's remembering my signature. Can you shut it down? She hesitated. Maybe, or maybe it'll kill me. Evan stepped forward. Then don't, she shook her head. If I don't, they'll take it and destroy another world. Lightning burst through a crack in the ceiling, flooding the room with blue light. Nira screamed and covered her ears. Evan reached for Liara's hand. There has to be another way. She looked at his hand, human and rough, scarred from old battles. You fight like you've lost everything, she said. Why do you still care? He gave a half smile. Because someone has to. Because if we stop caring, we stop being human. Liara stared at him for a moment, then slowly placed her hand over his. Then help me rewrite what we created. They turned to the glowing crystal together. The markings on the wall lit up like veins of fire. Energy spiraled upward, humming through the air. Evan connected his ship's power core to the structure, stabilizing the surge. What's happening? Liara's voice was calm but trembling. I'm transferring the Genesis energy into this ruins archive, locking it away. They won't be able to use it again. But what about the signal? It will vanish with me. Before Evan could speak, her mark flared white-hot. Liara screamed, light bursting from her wrist, flooding the entire chamber. Nira cried out, Mom! Evan grabbed Liara, holding her upright as the light engulfed them. The storm outside exploded into silence, just still air and the soft hum of energy fading away. When the glow dimmed, Liara collapsed against him. Her mark was gone, burned out completely. She opened her eyes weakly. It's done. They can't track us anymore. Evan held her close. You did it. She smiled faintly. Not alone. Nira ran forward and hugged them both, tiny arms squeezing tightly. We're a team now, she whispered. Evan smiled, though his eyes were wet. Yeah, kid. A strange one, but yeah. Outside, the storm cleared. The enemy ships hovered above the ruins, confused, their scanners showing nothing but empty energy fields. The signal they were following was gone. Deep inside the temple, Evan looked up at the ancient carvings again. The humans and aliens standing side by side now seemed to glow brighter, as if the walls themselves approved. And in that quiet, Liara whispered, Maybe the universe keeps giving us second chances. Until we finally get it right. Evan nodded slowly. Then let's not waste this one. The red dawn broke slowly over the ruined planet. Storm clouds drifted away, revealing a calm sky that hadn't been seen in centuries. The Aurora 7 stood half buried in dust, its hull scorched, its engine still warm from the storm's fury. Commander Evan Cross stood outside, watching the first light touch the horizon. The silence felt strange, too peaceful after days of running. Inside the ship, Liara was tending to Nira, who slept soundly wrapped in a human thermal blanket. The burn mark on Liara's wrist was gone now, replaced by a faint scar that no longer glowed. But her eyes, though tired, carried a quiet strength. When Evan entered, she smiled faintly. She's dreaming again for once. It's not a fear. Evan sat across from her. She's tough, like her mother. Liara gave a soft laugh. Her mother nearly destroyed a galaxy. He shook his head. Her mother saved one. Before she could respond, the ship's comm system beeped, a soft but sharp sound that made both of them freeze. Evan frowned. No signal should reach us here. He opened the channel cautiously. A cold, commanding voice filled the cabin. Commander Evan Cross, this is Admiral Rourke of the Human Exploration Fleet. You are ordered to respond immediately. Evan's stomach tightened. Admiral, how did you find me? Your ship's beacon was reactivated automatically when the Genesis energy spike occurred, Rourke said. We've been tracking the signal for 2 days. Evan's eyes flickered toward Liara. She looked down, knowing what was coming. The Admiral continued. We detected alien interference. You are harboring fugitives. Confirm or deny, Evan's voice hardened. They're not fugitives. They're survivors. Static filled the line for a moment, then the Admiral's voice returned, colder than before. Our treaty with the Galactic Council forbids direct human involvement in alien affairs. Hand over the alien and her child. That's an order. Liara flinched. Evan stood up slowly, his jaw tight. With respect, sir. That's not happening. Do not test me, Commander. You know the consequences of treason. I know the meaning of humanity, Evan shot back. If saving 2 innocent lives is treason, then so be it. There was silence on the other end. Then the Admiral's voice lowered. You're making a mistake, son. Those creatures bring war wherever they go. Don't throw your career away for them. Evan looked at Liara and Nira, one scarred by science, the other by fear, and he answered quietly, some things are worth more than careers. Then he shut the channel. Liara stood in silence, her hands trembling slightly. You defied your own people for us, Evan sighed. I didn't do it for you. I did it because they were wrong, she looked into his eyes. You risked everything, human. They will come for you now, he shrugged. They already are. He walked to the control panel and began shutting down the ship's transponder. Once they reach orbit, they'll scan this area. We need to move, now. Liara hesitated. Where will we go? There's an old mining network under these ruins. My scanner shows deep tunnels, probably safe from satellites. We'll hide there until I figure out our next move. Liara nodded, lifting Nira gently into her arms. The child stirred but didn't wake. As they stepped outside, the wind carried the faint echo of engines. Human ships, approaching fast. Evan looked up. Silver specks glittered high in the sky. The fleet. His fleet. His brothers and sisters in arms, and they were coming to arrest him. By the time they reached the tunnels, the roar of descending ships shook the ground. The caves were narrow and dark, the air cold and stale. Liara lit a small glow crystal from her pouch, illuminating the walls covered with strange inscriptions. Evan followed behind, silent, lost in thought. He had always believed in the fleet. In order, in duty, in the idea that humans brought light to dark corners of the galaxy. But now he saw that light could also blind. Liara stopped and turned to him. You could still go back. Tell them you were tricked. Save yourself, he met her eyes firm. And let them take you? Let them hurt Nira? Never. Her lips trembled slightly. You don't owe us this. Maybe not, he said, but someone has to draw a line. Someone has to say enough. She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, Your people call it humanity. Mine call it madness, Evan smiled faintly. Maybe it's both. They reached a wider chamber deep underground. Ancient machines sat buried in dust, still faintly humming with old power. Evan set up a small energy barrier around the entrance, just in time. Above them, explosions echoed. The fleet had begun scanning the surface. Liara placed Nira down gently on a soft patch of cloth. The little girl blinked awake, confused. "Are we safe, Mom?" Liara brushed her hair softly. "For now, my love." Evan leaned against the wall, watching them. He could hear faint static from his earpiece, the fleet trying to re-establish contact. He removed the device and crushed it under his boot. Then he whispered almost to himself, "There's no going back now." Liara heard him. "You'll be branded a deserter. They'll erase your name." He looked at her with calm eyes.
Then let them forget me.
"As long as you and Nira live." "That's enough." She stared at him, this human, who had given up everything for two, strangers from another world, and something inside her broke and healed all at once. "You are not like the others," she said softly. "When I look at you, I remember why I created Genesis Light. I wanted to make life bloom again, not destroy it." Evan smiled. "Then maybe we can still finish what you started." But before they could speak further, a deep metallic voice echoed through the cave. "Commander Evan Cross. This is Admiral Rourke. You are surrounded. Surrender the fugitives and your punishment will be minimal." Evan's eyes hardened. "They found us." Liara clutched Nira close. "What will you do?" Evan loaded his rifle. "What I always do. Stand between the innocent and the fire." The cave trembled as searchlights pierced the cracks above. Dust rained down. Liara whispered, "You can't fight them all." Evan looked back at her with a quiet smile. "Watch me." And as the first soldiers dropped from above, Evan stepped forward into the shadows, one man against an army, carrying nothing but courage, compassion, and the burning light of what humanity truly meant. Deep behind him, Nira whispered to her mother, "He's not just human, is he?" Liara held her daughter close and smiled sadly. "No, my love. He's something rarer." She looked toward the sound of battle and whispered, "He's what hope looks like when it fights back." The cave walls trembled as the echoes of gunfire faded into the distance. The smell of plasma and dust filled the air. Smoke drifted lazily upward through cracks in the stone ceiling, carrying the sound of distant thunder from the battle above. Commander Evan Cross stood at the edge of the ruined tunnel. Armor cracked, blood streaked across his face. He had fought until his rifle overheated, until his muscles screamed for rest. The fleet's ground troops had finally withdrawn, leaving scanners and drones circling above, waiting for a signal, waiting for him to give up. He hadn't. Behind him, Liara and Nira sat in the dim light of the cave's inner chamber. Liara's arm was wounded, a deep burn from stray energy fire, but she was more worried about the small figure lying weakly on the stone floor. Nira was shivering. Her skin, once soft violet, had turned pale gray. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes unfocused. Evan turned at the sound of Liara's voice, a trembling whisper. "She's burning inside. I can't stop it." He rushed to them, dropping to his knees beside Nira. "What happened?" Liara's voice cracked. "Radiation. From the old ruins. She absorbed too much when the crystal activated." Evan's stomach twisted. He pulled out his med kit, scanning Nira's vitals. The device beeped sharply. "Toxic levels. Human medicine won't work on her biology," he said. "We need something stronger." Liara's eyes glowed faintly. "There is one way, but it will take my life." Evan looked up sharply. "No." She placed a hand on his shoulder, calm but firm. "Listen to me. I designed Genesis Light. It runs through my blood. If I channel my essence into her body, it can neutralize the radiation. She will live, and you'll die," he said. Liara smiled weakly. "Mothers make those choices, human. You should understand." He shook his head, gripping her wrist. "No one dies on my watch. Not anymore." But Liara's eyes softened. "You can't stop me. You've already given us more time than I ever dreamed." He looked down at Nira, the small girl who had once tugged his coat, and whispered, "By my mom." Now her tiny hand barely twitched. A lump rose in his throat. There has to be another way. Liara closed her eyes, whispering words in her alien tongue, a soft melody that echoed like a prayer. The mark on her wrist, long thought dead, flickered faintly again. Light spread across her body, delicate and blue. "Liara," she smiled. "Don't stop me, Evan Cross, just promise me something." He hesitated. "What?" Promise me you'll take her far from this war. Promise me you'll show her what mercy looks like beyond pain. Evan's heart pounded. I promise, he whispered. Liara leaned down and pressed her glowing hand against Nira's chest. The light spread through the girl's body, veins lighting up like stars. Nira gasped once, her body arching as the energy pulsed through her. The light grew brighter, filling the entire cave with soft, living color. Evan shielded his eyes. Liara, stop. You're burning yourself out. But she didn't stop. She smiled through tears. Life must continue. Then the glow faded and silence fell. When Evan looked again, Nira was breathing, slow but steady. Her skin glowed with faint warmth, her cheeks returning to color. But Liara lay still beside her, her body motionless, her eyes open but empty. Evan knelt beside her, shaking his head. No. No, no. He pressed his fingers to her neck. Nothing. For a long moment he didn't speak. The cave was silent except for the faint hum of the energy shield outside. Then Nira stirred and opened her eyes. Mom? Evan swallowed hard, forcing his voice to stay calm. She saved you, Nira. She saved us all. Tears welled in the child's eyes. She said she wouldn't leave me. Evan hugged her tightly, his voice breaking. She didn't leave you. She lives right here. He placed her hand over her heart. In you. Nira sobbed softly against his chest. It hurts, I know, he whispered. But I promised her I'd protect you. I'm not breaking that promise. He wrapped Liara's body in his cloak, gently placing her near the crystal chamber. The walls glowed faintly again, as if the ruins themselves mourned. As he stepped back, the carvings on the walls shifted, ancient light forming new patterns. He realized something astonishing. The symbols now depicted three figures: a human, an alien woman, and a child holding light between them. Evan stared. It's changing. Nira looked up, eyes wide. She became part of the light. He nodded slowly. Yeah, she did. Outside, the fleet scanners were still searching, but none dared approach the storm-formed zone around the ruins. The energy field had grown dense, humming with Genesis power, as if Liara's final act had sealed the planet itself from harm. Evan carried Nira back to the ship. She slept against his shoulder, exhausted but safe. As he laid her in her seat, he whispered, Rest, little one. We've got a long road ahead. He powered up the Aurora 7, eyes lingering on the horizon one last time. Through the cockpit window, he saw the faint shimmer of Liara's resting place glowing under the new dawn. For the first time since he'd found that tiny girl in the slave market, Evan smiled, at a tired, broken smile. But real. He whispered to himself, You kept your promise. Liara, now it's my turn. Hours later, as the Aurora 7 drifted quietly through space, Nira woke and looked out the window. Where are we going, human? Evan smiled softly. Somewhere she'd be proud of. Somewhere with green fields and a real sky. Nira tilted her head. Will you stay with me? Forever? He met her glowing blue eyes, so much like her mother's, and answered without hesitation. Forever, kid. Your family now? She smiled and leaned against his arm. As the stars rolled past, Evan closed his eyes, feeling the hum of the engines and the faint whisper of a voice only he could hear. Liara's voice, carried in the pulse of the ship. Keep your promise, human. Let the light live on. And somewhere deep in the void, where dying stars still remembered mercy, a single beacon lit up in silent defiance. The mark of humanity reborn in the heart of an alien child. 10 years had passed since the red storms of Vela faded into memory. The galaxy had changed, not through conquest or fear, but through whispers. Whispers of a human who defied fleets, and a little alien girl who carried a light no empire could extinguish. The Aurora 7 drifted now through the calm lanes of the outer colonies, no longer a warship, but a home. Commander Evan Cross sat in the pilot's chair, his once black armor faded to gray. His beard was streaked with silver, his eyes tired but kind. Across from him sat Nira, now grown into a young woman, tall, graceful, and radiant with the faint blue glow of Genesis energy running through her veins. She was no longer the trembling child who had once begged in a slave market. She was something new, something powerful and gentle at the same time. As the stars shimmered outside, Nira broke the quiet. They're calling us to the council again, she said softly. Evan didn't look up. They'll want answers. They always do. This time they're not summoning a fugitive, she said, a small smile on her lips. They're inviting an ambassador. He raised an eyebrow. Ambassador Nira of the New Genesis Accord, huh? You've come far. She looked at him with warmth. Not without you, human. He smiled faintly, the corner of his mouth twitching. You still call me that. You like it, she teased gently. Maybe he did. Their ship entered orbit around the galactic capital, a world of light and spires. Once it had symbolized control and judgment. Now, banners of a new alliance waved across the towers, humanity and Vela united. As the Aurora 7 descended, people from 100 species gathered to watch. Many had heard the story, how a human soldier chose mercy over orders, how an alien scientist child brought new life to dying worlds. It was no longer legend. It was history. When the ramp opened, Evan and Nira stepped out together. The crowd went silent. The High Council chamber was vast and golden. Representatives from across the galaxy filled the seats, murmuring softly. At the center stood the Grand Speaker, an ancient alien whose voice echoed like wind through crystal. Commander Evan Cross, the speaker said, and Nira of Vela, you stand before this council not as criminals but as saviors. The light you brought back, the Genesis light, now restores worlds once lost to war. Nira bowed her head respectfully. The light was never meant to belong to one race. It belongs to life itself. Evan said nothing. He wasn't one for speeches, but the speaker continued, turning to the audience. This human broke every rule of his own fleet, yet his defiance gave us unity. He reminded us that compassion is stronger than law. The hall erupted in applause, hesitant at first, then thunderous. Nira turned to Evan, her voice barely a whisper. She'd be proud, you know. He didn't have to ask who she was. He simply nodded. Later that night, the two of them stood on a balcony overlooking the capital's glowing rivers. The city below shimmered with life, alien and human children playing side by side, markets buzzing with color and laughter. Evan leaned on the railing, gazing into the stars. Feels strange, he murmured. Seeing peace, Nira smiled. You earned it, he chuckled softly. No one earns peace, we just stop fighting long enough to notice it. She looked up at him, her eyes glowing faintly. You know, the council wants to name the next generation of colonies after you. Cross Systems. He laughed, shaking his head. Don't, I just did what anyone should have done. Not everyone would have, she said gently. You showed them what being human means. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, maybe being human isn't just a species. Maybe it's a choice when to care when it's easier to walk away. Nira smiled sadly. That's what she used to say too. The wind carried silence between them, not empty but full of memory. As the night deepened, Nira placed her hand on the small pendant around her neck. A shard of the old Genesis crystal, humming faintly with life. She's still with us, she said. Evan nodded. She'd be happy to see what you've become. I am what she and you made me, Nira whispered. Part alien, part human, and something new. Evan turned to her, pride softening his worn face. Something better. Just then a soft tremor rippled through the air. The city lights flickered, and a holographic alert appeared in the sky. A nearby colony had gone dark, a planet dying again, its sun fading. Nira looked at him. They need the light, he smiled. Then it's time to go to work. She nodded, activating the pendant. The crystal glowed bright blue, reflecting in her eyes. Ready, old man? Evan laughed. Always. The Aurora 7 lifted once more into the stars. Its hull carried the marks of war, but also the symbol of peace. The intertwined emblems of Earth and Vela, glowing softly in silver and blue. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, Nira stood by the window, her voice quiet but strong. Do you ever wonder, she asked, if the universe finally understands what humanity means? Evan smiled, hand steady on the controls. Maybe it's not about the universe understanding us, he said. Maybe it's about us reminding it, every time we choose kindness. The stars stretched into rivers of light. Behind them, in the ruins of Vela, Liara's resting place began to glow once more, brighter than before. Her final energy pulse merged with the stars, scattering across the void like seeds. Worlds once barren began to bloom again, and as the voice of the cosmos whispered softly through the emptiness, One truth echoed through every world that remembered the tale. Humanity is not a race. It's a light, and it lives wherever compassion dares to stand against darkness. The Aurora 7 vanished into the blue, carrying that light onward. The galaxy watched, and for the first time in its long, bitter history, it hoped.